Hi guys, today I'm going to talk to you about how getting molested as a child affected me mentally, physically, and emotionally, and kind of go through all the ways that it's impacted my whole life in general. I don't really have like a script for this video. I'm just gonna like talk and see how I feel as if like you're like right in front of my face in real life. Before I get started, please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you're new here, or if you're not new here, just go ahead and help me out because it does help me out a lot if you do that. And also please check out all the links below. I have a bottoming course that I want to regularly update. I have my anal douching kits, I have my club, I have everything's at the links below, so go check it out. Alright, so for those of you that don't already know, I was born in Jakarta, Indonesia, and I came to the United States when I was 8 years old with my mom. There were two sexual situations that happened to me when I was 6 years old with two different people. The first was I had this friend who was also 6 years old. His name was Ray, and we would hang out all the time after school or just in the neighborhood in general. And there was this one day where he got me to his house and he I think I was literally in his living room, like with his, like I don't know where his parents were, but like it was his parents' house in his living room, obviously because he's like 6 years old. And I turned around to like look at something, and then when I looked back at my friend Ray, his pants were down and he was like, oh, like touch it, and his dick was hard. And I guess like 6-year-old me didn't know like what to do or what to say, and I didn't know like what was going on, so I just like did what he told me to do. And so I touched his dick and I was like, okay, cool, this is me touching his wee-wee. And then he told me to take off my pants so that he could touch mine, and so I did the same thing. And so for like a few weeks, I think, or a few months, we did this kind of regularly, not every day, but like we did this kind of often. Like I would show up at his house and he would take off my clothes, or we would take off each other's clothes, and then we would just like play with each other's dicks. We didn't use our mouths yet. I wouldn't say like he molested me just because I agreed to it. I would just say this was like childhood innocence and stupidity, and it doesn't make me feel happy talking about it, and I wouldn't want this to happen to any kid. Or like, you know, if I could go back in time, I probably would have like not been involved in this, but like I can't, so I have to accept that like this happened to me and I did agree to it, but I was also 6 years old, so like, you know, be fair about that. Anyway, so we just played with each other's dicks like for like a few months or a few weeks, and I started to think that it was kind of a normal thing. It was like very like weird stuff. Like we would even like use band-aids to like put it on our dicks because it would feel weird. I don't even know. Okay. And then one day I was hanging out with my other friend Jessica, who was like my age, and we were watching South Park at her place, and her uncle was home. He was like 50 years old at the time, I think, or like her great uncle or something. I remember he had white hair, so he must have been like older. But basically we were watching South Park, and I remember like the specific episode because there was a guy, I think Kenny, like set someone's pants on fire, and then he like went to like hell in the show. So I remember vividly watching that specific part, and then her 50-year-old great uncle like picked me up from the floor, brought me upstairs to his bedroom and locked the doors, and it was like kind of dark in the room. Like he shut all the windows down, and he put me on the bed and took out my pants, and he blew me. Like he like sucked my dick, and it was like very weird because I had known that like me and Ray had been doing something similar to this, but I had never like had a mouth touch my penis before. And I knew it was wrong because he was so old and he was not my friend, and I had never met him before. So like it just was very dehumanizing, and it also felt very invasive. So basically he like sucked me off for a little bit. Obviously I couldn't come because I wasn't a teen and I hadn't hit puberty yet, so I was just kind of like, okay. And then he took off his pants and he made me touch his dick. I didn't put my mouth on it, but he just made me like touch it and stuff, and I was like, okay, cool. And then I left. So here's the thing though, like I knew that that was like bad, and I felt guilty, and I knew that it was a wrong thing that happened to me, and I felt shitty about it, of course. But my instinct, because I had been doing that with Ray for a bit, was to hang out with Ray. Like the next time I hung out with Ray, I told him what happened to me with the uncle, and then we started performing oral sex with each other. And so in a way, in a weird twisted way, the rape that I went through with the 50-year-old uncle pedophile kind of inspired like a new habit that me and Ray would do. So it was a all around bad situation, and I'm not proud of this at all, but basically this went on for like another few weeks or a few months, where I would show up at his place and we would start blowing each other as 6-year-olds. So this was obviously very, very bad, and I didn't like it, but that's what happened. And then about a year later, my dad died. And when my dad died, my mom was very, very sad. And obviously I was very close with my mom at the time, but I hadn't told her about any of this because I felt like nervous to tell her and I was scared. But there was one day where I felt like time had passed enough and I was like, okay, I'm gonna just tell my mom about what happened and see what she says. So I remember she had just finished praying and I was so scared to tell her this because I felt like I was at fault a little bit because I had, you know, in a way kind of been okay with what happened to me and hadn't told anyone like right away. So she finished praying one day and I was like, Mom, like I have to tell you something, like, and then I told her like everything that happened to me like in the last like year, or like what happened to me like a year ago. And she immediately started crying and she made me feel really bad and I obviously cried too and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And she didn't treat me the way she did for like the next few weeks or a few months, or honestly for a long time. She treated me a little bit differently because of that situation, because she, you know, was raised in like a Catholic household and I was also born Catholic, and she like has always known that like you can't be gay, like that's like a sin, but also at the same time like doing that as a child especially, or like that happening with like an older person, like that was really, really bad, and she thought that I liked it. And so I don't blame her for this, because I mean I did blame her for this, but like we resolved all of this now. But basically what happened was she made me go to confession at the church that we went to. So we went to church and she made me go to confession, and I had to talk to like this priest behind this wall and kind of like confess my sins. And I had to tell him like, oh my gosh, like I got molested and raped and I'm sorry that happened to me. But I guess I said like, I guess the sin was that like maybe I thought I liked it because I didn't tell anyone when it happened to me. And I kept going with Ray. I don't know I kind of like have it all jumbled up in my head, but that was basically what I apologized for. And the priest was like, okay, cool, I guess. And honestly, like I was literally 6 years old or 7 years old, and I honestly like didn't really know how to like handle all that. Anyway, so that was the background info that you need to know. Now I'm gonna tell you the mental, emotional, and physical effects that it had on me and what I did to kind of like work through those problems, and what I'm currently doing now to, I don't know, like help fix that, I guess. Okay, so mentally, that situation definitely fucked me up for a long, long time. Like when that happened to me and when my mom made me go to confession, I feel like I lost my trust in my mom, and I felt like kind of alienated, and I felt like she didn't like me, and I had no dad. So I felt very, very alone, and I also felt very grossed out and very like confused as to why like that had to happen to me, and also like why I didn't tell anyone right away, and like maybe I liked it and maybe I was meant to be like this weird fucked up creature and stuff. So that was kind of like what I was going through when I was a kid. And so mentally it was a very, very damaging. What happened to me immediately after that was I plucked off all of my hair down the middle, literally one by one. And this was when I was like literally 9 years old, and my mom was so confused, and she like tried to put me into therapy. And fun fact about therapy, it doesn't work if the kid or like the person doesn't want therapy. So I would like talk to these people and no one would know like what was wrong with me. They just knew that like I would be plucking my hair off. So that was kind of the first thing that happened, and I didn't understand like what was happening to me or like my body or like my mental health. I stopped plucking my hair off like when I was like 9, but then it came back. So when I was in middle school, so when I was like 12 years old, I plucked my hair off again. At this point, when I was 12, I had moved to the United States with my mom, and I was in middle school in San Gabriel, east of LA, and I started plucking my hair off, like literally down the middle, and my teachers were confused and my friends were confused and everyone was confused, but like no one knew like what to do with me, and I didn't know what to do with myself either. I just knew that I felt disgusting and I didn't like myself. I didn't think these things like at the time. I'm looking back now and I'm realizing all that, but if I had to like summarize it, it was because I was confused and lonely and I hated myself and I hated my life. I just felt like a disgusting like person. So then I stopped plucking my hair off when I was like 13, but then I moved on to my eyebrows, so my eyebrows were all gone. It was just really, really bad. But then I realized that I was like ugly and I was going into high school, so I was like, okay, shit, like I gotta stop and grow my hair back. And then high school came, and that's when I started literally cutting myself. I was like 15, I think, when I first tried to cut myself, and I started out with like my wrists. I don't know if you can see, but I have like scars still. It's not like a big scar or anything. It's like right here. Do you see that? It's like a scar, and I also have like some here, these are some scars that I had from when I like cut myself when I was 15. It was in the winter, so like I could wear hoodies and stuff to cover it at school, but at some point I didn't want to keep wearing hoodies, and I had cross country, so I had to wear like band-aids, and I didn't want to like tell anyone or show anyone. So then I moved on to like parts of my body that people couldn't see. So like my stomach, now I have scars everywhere. So like here, let me show you. So I have this now. I have to like tippy toe right now because there's light coming in everywhere, but I don't know if you can see, but I have scars all around here. Can you see that? I don't know if you can. Anyway, I have like these scars. They're not stretch marks, they're like literal scars. I also like cut my legs, so I had like scars here. I don't know if you can see this, holy shit. Let me just stand on this and like hopefully you can see it, but I have scars here. I also have scars like there. Can you see that? Yeah, so I used to cut myself like a lot in high school, and it was really, really bad. But I didn't know what else to do with myself, and I really felt like a hopeless case. Yeah, it was actually really, really bad. But that's what happened. Mentally, it was just really bad. Another mental thing that happened to me was I had a really bad relationship with my mom. Actually, does that go under emotional? I'll talk about that in the emotional part too. But mentally, my mental health was really bad. I was depressed for a long time. I had a lot of anxiety. I had a lot of stress, and I had a lot of zits because of it, but that goes into physical. Anyway, it doesn't even matter. I'm just gonna talk and see where it goes. I hated myself, I hated my life, and I felt very hopeless. Okay, so now moving on to physical. Okay, so physical effects of getting molested as a kid. I think I got aroused by things growing up, and even now sometimes, that I wouldn't be aroused by if that didn't happen to me as a kid. And I mean that with like friendship specifically, because when I was small, obviously Ray was the first person that like did stuff with me. So in my adolescent years, I really felt like, I knew it was wrong, obviously. I knew like playing around with each other's dicks as kids isn't good. Like that's not good and it's not normal. But kids are very touchy. And you know how kids are touchy and kids are also like, they don't know anything, so they get naked sometimes or whatever. When I was growing up, I remember like guys, my guy friends would like be touchy or like would touch me or like would hit each other's balls or something. And I would get aroused by those things. And I would get aroused by like when someone like did stuff like that, or like if I saw wedgies or something, I'd be like, oh, like that's kind of a turn on. And I think it was literally because I was exposed to all of that as a kid. Like otherwise, why would I get turned on as like a fucking 10-year-old? Like, I mean, I guess puberty hit me like early, but it just felt really weird to me. And it felt like I felt even more guilty about it because I would get aroused by like my fucking friends. Even like from then until now, I don't know if this is normal because like, I guess it could be normal for a lot of people, but like I do feel like I have a very free-flowing like mind, and I do think like I think about my friends, not sexually in a way that like I want to fuck them. I do think I've imagined my friends having sex before, and I've imagined like them in sexual settings, and not in like a weird way, obviously, because they're all like my age and they're all either older or whatever, but I have a very free-flowing like mind when it comes to sex. And I would imagine like only attractive people, obviously. I would imagine like attractive people and friends like fucking, for example, or like, I don't know, just stuff like that, or like being touchy. I don't know. So yeah, physically I felt like I just would get aroused by things that I don't think I would be aroused by if I hadn't been exposed to that as a kid, because it was kind of ingrained into my head, you know what I mean? And also physically, I guess like my acne scars and also like my cutting scars, those are also physical effects of that. Okay, now emotionally. Emotionally is like probably the hardest one for me to talk about. Actually, no, this isn't the hardest one for me to talk about. Actually, it is. Getting molested as a kid made me really confused about my sexuality when I was growing up. So I didn't know if I was gay because, first of all, my entire family was, maybe still is, homophobic. So like I was raised to believe that it was like wrong. And so I felt disgusted with myself when I realized that I was like, oh, I didn't hate my experience with Ray, and I didn't hate like what I did with him. So I was like, holy shit, like I'm fucked up. Like there's something wrong with me. And I also was confused about my sexuality because I was like, when I was growing up, I was like, I would feel attraction towards guys, but I wouldn't be sure if it was like genuine or if it was only because I was exposed to that as a kid. I'd be like, oh my gosh, like am I actually gay? Or am I just saying this, or am I just feeling this way because I was touched and kind of raped as a child. And the truth of the matter is, like, even if that was a reason, like, I can't change it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what sucked about it. So, like, it made me really, like, confused and made me really upset. That was kind of something that I struggled with for a long, long time. And emotionally also, my relationship with my mom was very, very bad up until, like, when I was, like, 19. And I'll get to that in a bit, but, like, my relationship with my mom was very, very bad. I would run away from home so many times, and I hated her, and she hated me, too, I'm pretty sure. And ultimately it was just really bad, like, growing up for me, because mentally I was depressed, physically I was getting aroused by things that I was confused by, and emotionally I wasn't sure about myself, and I didn't know if I was gay, and I also hated myself because I was like, holy shit, like, that happened to me, I didn't hate it, and I also might like guys. And that was kind of like the worst thing at the time in my head, and I was like, holy shit, like, something is wrong with me and I need to be, like, put down. And I wanted to kind of die, to be honest. But those were kind of the main effects that I can think of right now. As for things that helped me and things that didn't, let me get to that. So like I said earlier, therapy did not work for me because I was forced to do therapy when I was a kid, and also forced to do therapy when I was, like, in high school, and both times I didn't want to be helped, so I didn't open up about anything, and I also had so much anxiety about, like, other parts about growing up that I could not deal with this at the time. So therapy definitely did not help me when I was growing up. What helped me personally was when I was 19, there was this class in my college. I went to school in Boston University, and there was this, like, intro to writing class, and one of the assignments was a fucking personal memoir, and people in the class were like, oh, let me write about, like, fishing with my dad for the first time. Let me write about my first hockey game. Let me write about my first time riding a bike. And my crazy ass, like, I really raised my hand in the middle of class, and I was like, can I write about getting raped when I was 6 years old? And that was the first time I had ever told, like, anyone except my mom and, like, my one best friend from high school that happened to me. I really, like, I don't even know what took over me. I just knew that I wanted to, like, not deal with this anymore, not deal with this, like, pain in my heart, and, like, not deal with, like, this craziness anymore. And so I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna just raise my hand and ask if I could do this. Raise my hand in the middle of class, and I was like, hey, like, sorry guys, but can I, like, burst the bubble and talk about getting raped as a child? And my professor was like, yeah. And then my classmates were like, oh my gosh, like, are you okay, like, after class and stuff? And I was like, no, it's fine, I just want to, like, fix my life and start being cool with talking about this stuff. What the fuck is that? Cool about my life, and just, like, start talking about hard things. And so I wrote about this entire situation on my essay and my memoir, and I detailed every little thing, and I just wanted to be fucking free. I just wanted to, like, just let it go and just write about it. And so I wrote about it. And then my next assignment was a fucking screenplay, and it was based on the memoir. So I wrote a fucking screenplay about the fucking rape situation, and I had to relive it. And honestly, it was traumatizing, and it felt crazy, and it felt so, like, bad, but it felt so amazing at the same time, and it felt better. Like, I felt so good after that. I even talked about, like, my mom putting me to confession and stuff, and that just really, that was the first thing in my life that I did that felt good, that was good for, like, my self-growth and my self-development. So that was also the semester that, like, I met my best friend, Anushk, and he also inspired me to, like, fix my relationship with my mom. And so that summer when I came back home when I was 19, I was like, Mom, we have to fix our relationship. And so we would start talking about stuff, and I'd be like, hey, that made me upset when you made me go to confession. Like, that was the first time I brought it up since it happened. And I'd be like, I didn't like that, and you, like, we have to talk about it, and we have to discuss it. And we did, and it took us years, but, like, it, you know, it was a work in progress, but that was, like, the seed that was planted. I was like, we have to talk about this. And ever since then, our communication has been better, because when I was 19, I wasn't amazing either at communicating, and I didn't know myself well either. I was still confused about being gay, and I was still confused about, like, life. But it started then. I wasn't sure about being gay yet, so I just kind of told my mom, like, hey, like, I'm not really sure about this, but, like, I'll figure it out. So over the next few years, like, my coping mechanism with all of this was to just be open about my life and tell people about my story. And as a result, I would get people coming to me and telling me that they had a similar thing happen to them. And that was honestly so therapeutic for me to go through, to just know that, like, my words weren't just helping myself, and they were also helping, like, my classmates and my friends that I would share my story to. That was kind of the therapy for me, because I felt like I wasn't alone anymore, and I just felt like people go through this. Unfortunately, people have experiences with child molestation and stuff like that, and so it made me really, not happy, but it made me comforted. It made me feel like less alone when people were sharing their experiences with me. So that was my therapy for a bit. And as for like the emotional stuff, how I fixed that, I just experimented. I hadn't really experimented in high school. So in college, I was going out and I was like making out with people at parties and meeting up with guys on Grindr and trying stuff with girls. Here's the thing though. I still hated everything and I still didn't like anything that I did with anyone, guys and girls, because I was like, oh my gosh, this feels so nasty. And I honestly do have a lot of intimacy problems because of like what happened to me as a kid, and also with like growing up with a mom that I couldn't trust, and also without a dad, and also no siblings. So I do have really bad intimacy problems with guys now and with other people. So where I'm going with this is basically when I was experimenting in college, I didn't like making out with people. I did like making out with people, but I didn't like doing sexual stuff with people. I didn't like, you know, blowjobs that much. Physically it felt good, but like I didn't like the emotional part of it. I didn't like opening up myself to somebody else. I didn't like people opening up to me and stuff like that. Girls and guys. I didn't bang anyone until I was like 20 years old. And I told this story before, but like when I was 20, things changed again. Because I met this guy and he was in an open relationship with somebody else and wasn't looking for anything more than sex, but I also wasn't. Oh, actually, let me tell you about this. So my mom and I did a study abroad program in LA, and which is funny because I live in LA, but I went to school in Boston. They had a study abroad program in LA, and so I went to LA and I had my own apartment, and there was one day when I was at home at this house and my mom and I were trying to watch a movie, but instead we saw like my stepdad's porn collection. And then I was like, that's not my porn. And my mom was like, that's your stepdad's porn. And I was like, that's kind of gross. And my mom went to the gym because it was awkward. And then my stepdad came to me and he was like, Kevin, like, I know guys like you fuck a lot of girls and you would appreciate this porn, so you can go ahead and check it out if you want to. And I was like, this is so weird, because I was like still like confused and I was still like bi at the time. So I went to the gym and I was like, Mom, like I don't like this, like blah blah blah. And I was like, I'm still confused and I feel like people just think that I'm straight or whatever. And my mom was like, she was inspired by the show Sex Education, so she was like, Kevin, you know what, like I don't want you to be confused. I'd rather have you be gay than confused, so just go, you know, bang a girl and bang a guy and then come back and let me know what you think. And she really emphasized like the banging a girl first. But anyway, I met this guy that same week and he was, like I said, was in an open relationship with somebody else and also wasn't looking for friends or for a boyfriend, but he was looking for sex, and so was I, because I was trying to experiment and I was a virgin. And so I met this guy and I like literally just immediately fell in love with him, and I ended up seeing him for like 3 years, and he still is a friend today. And my point is, I fell in love with somebody for the first time in a way that I had never felt before. I had never loved a person like this before. I had never loved a man or a woman like this before. And when that happened to me and it was this guy, I just knew that I was gay. I knew that I was gay, and I like, obviously in reality I'm like open, I guess, like I'm essentially bisexual, but like I'm gay, you know what I mean? Like I met this guy and I was like, I'm definitely gay. Like this is like how it's supposed to feel, and this is how it feels to like be in love, to be infatuated, to be sexually attracted. My camera just stopped, but basically I was like, this is how it feels to be in love, to be infatuated, to be sexually attracted, to be happy with being sexually attracted. And so I kind of used that as a reference for me, and I told my parents about it, and my mom cried, and then my stepdad was like, oh, don't worry, it's so normal to be gay. I watch porn and sometimes the person has a penis, the girl has a penis, and I still jack off. And I was like, thank you so much, Henry. But yeah, so my mom and I fixed our relationship even more after that, because my mom came back in my room after crying and she was like, Kevin, like, it was this bad actually, and she was like, Kevin, like, I'm homophobic right now, but I don't want to be in the future, so just keep telling me about it and hopefully I'll just like eventually accept it. And I was like, bet. And so I just kept telling her about my sex life for the next like 2 years, and I think she's cool now. Basically what I'm trying to say is I experimented a lot, and that experimentation led me to meeting someone and falling in love with them and realizing that I actually am into this, and that it wasn't just, you know, getting molested that like got me into guys. Like, it's not that, because the truth of the matter is, when I met this guy, there was literally no doubt in my mind that it was like love. Like it was like the realest feeling I've ever felt in my life, and I knew for a fucking fact in my heart that getting molested had nothing to do with how I felt about him. So yeah, that's how I like realized that that's how I got over the sexuality barrier. But it's still like, you know, I still have definitely intimacy issues with guys. Like I'm still very much weird when it comes to sex. And even now I still like find it a little bit hard to open up in that way to somebody. I'm open on the internet, but I don't know, with specific guys, I don't know if I'm like the same way. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I guess I would say that's how I've been dealing with it. I did go to therapy for a year last year, and that helped me a lot because I actually wanted to go to therapy. So I do recommend therapy for those of you that like actually want it. It is good for you. You just have to find the right therapist. That's like speed dating, and it's like can be a little bit taxing, but it could be worth it for you. So just, you know, try it out. And it's good to have someone to talk to because then your friends wouldn't feel so like, I don't know, I used to open up to my friends a lot, and I still do, but like I used to use them so much to like get my words out and to just like get my feelings out, and now I just feel like that's kind of, it could be rude to like just use up your friend's time like that. It's okay, and your friends should be there for you, but it's good to have somebody else that like is a professional that knows what they're saying and knows how to like solve issues to entrust with information like that. But yes, guys, so that's kind of like how it was for me, and I definitely stopped cutting myself, and I stopped like all the bad negative, most of the bad negative stuff, because I just knew and realized that like there's no one coming to save you. Like there's only yourself. Like no one's gonna come and like make your life better. Like if you hate your life, you have to be the one that like, you have to be the one that saves yourself. You have to be the one that pulls yourself out of that dark hole, because no one's here to save you. There are going to be people that will help you, but like ultimately it's up to you to fix your life and to start loving yourself and to start letting go of things that like made you upset in the past, and letting go of things that traumatize you and hurt you, and realizing that like these things don't define you. They are just, I mean, they're like a factor in what defines you, but they don't fully define you. Like situations that happen to you in your life don't define you. They are just there to challenge you and to like help you grow and to help you realize more about yourself in the future. So good and bad things can happen to you guys, but like if this has happened to you before, or like something similar has happened to you, I feel really sorry for you, and I just want you to know that I'm like, you know, I'm here and I see you, I hear you, and this happened to me too, and it took over my life for so long, and I just want to let you know that it's time for you to also let go of it, and to not let this make you hate your life, and to not let this make you hate yourself. There is a way out, and there is a way to the light. But yeah, that's all I have to say for today. I'll probably like talk about this more like at some point in the future, but let me know what you guys think about this video. If you have any questions, or if you have any like requests for like a specific situation that you want me to talk about, then I would love to do so. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Please again like this video, because it's kind of a long video. And please also subscribe to my channel and check out my bottoming course at the links below. Same with my anal douching kits. I love you guys. I'm sorry this is like a weird ending, but I just talked so much and I just like don't want to talk like for too long. Love you guys. Thanks so much for watching. Love you.